The Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Real Doctor Who fans with real Doctor Who opinions.
Hello and welcome to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast, a podcast dedicated to discussing and reviewing all things Doctor Who, Big Finish, and all the sorts of science fiction-y stuff. I am your host, Brett, and across the pond, now in color, perhaps voted on as the most underrated host of the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast, is...
Liam, hello.
Hello.
In colour. That's a terrible experience.
Color,
you might want to...
I think you were in black and white
white.
before, but now you are in color.
Oh dear. Brings up the blemishes. Oh well.
All right. Well, in this podcast, we are going to be discussing and giving our thoughts on the most latest news, which is, well, we got The Savages, which is now animated. So maybe now you're more animated. You're not in, you've always been in color, but now you're more animated. And as well as, I think, some discussions about Blu-ray sets, as well as the most underrated Doctor Who story for each Doctor. I have a list that ChatGPT created. I have one that Screen Rant made. And so, yeah, I'm very excited. I've not looked at either of these lists because I want to be, blindsided as much as possible so that I can, not have any predisposed. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's also some Big Finish news as well that they've announced a couple of things.
Oh, really? All right. Well, with that being said, I did not see any Big Finish news. So what per se is that, sir?
They've announced the second Death and Life of River Song box set.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you sent that to me.
Called Ace and Tegan, or Tegan and Ace, or something.
Yeah,
inventive.
Ace and Tegan.
Which
I'm curious what your thoughts are about that, because for me yeah.
Carry on.
I was going to say, for me personally, the Diary of River Song, the first box set was great. It had ups, but it was average to a little, had some down stuff. The Death and Life of River Song, the instant I heard it and I read the introductory premise of it, I was just like, oh, okay. So we're going to give her an AI body. We're going to download her memory. And so she's now, in the world yet again.
Yeah. And it's like, in the way that I haven't listened to the first box set because I haven't finished the other diary entries. And it was like, oh yeah, she kind of goes back up into like the core or whatever,
the moon
or whatever it is. So I'm like, what are we doing now? Are we just gonna like next box set? Re-download. And I'm just, please don't do that, because that's gonna get. I mean, that's old already, even now. So, can we not do that and come up with a better premise? Because,
well.
And then it's like, I mean, kind of cheapens Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead.
Yes.
Thing. I mean, yeah, she's kind of part Time Lord anyway, so I guess you could argue that, well, all right, she may not have any of her regenerations left. However, Time Lord thingy type stuff, so they're kind of harder to kill anyway, so why not, I suppose, by this point. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. If they want to reuse the character, they'll reuse the character, but I mean, as long as they don't keep doing the old trope of end of box set, re-upload consciousness back to somewhere or back to wherever, and then download her again into a new body. Like, what is this? Altered carbon now? Like, are we just gonna, is that what River is? Is she just like being sleeved into different bodies now? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
Well, and I can't blame Big Finish to some extent because we have Ace as seen on, the new series of Doctor Who. We have Tegan, who is the Tegan that we saw also from the,
Power of the
what is it, the
Doctor.
Christmas special?
Power of the Doctor.
Power of the Doctor. Oh, sorry. I mentally purged that from my brain. So
What from last week?
I
Well,
know.
because of the forced degeneration.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what?
Well, that's the episode that just keeps on giving.
It's just one of those things where how your brain kind of deletes things just to save it from distress. I constantly, even though Rick recorded last week, I still am deleting things to save me from unnecessary stress.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I think what I want at least Big Finish to address, right? At least, I mean, if it's just one line, right, is the resolution from the end of the gathering
yeah.
to where Tegan is now. Like, all she has to say was, "Oh yeah, I had cancer. I got a cure." Like anything, just to clear that bit of storyline up, because you go from the Fifth Doctor revisiting her and her being really embittered and whatever, and like possibly having cancer. Well, no, not possibly, but having cancer because of some alien incursion. I still say the Mara. Anyway, to the Power of the Doctor, and
Yes.
no mention, none.
Well,
I don't know.
I
And I get
mean,
it. TV and Big Finish don't cross over, and it's always Big Finish having to pay dividends to the TV show and etc. But like, okay, cool, fine, all right. You they're going to continue to do that, I guess. So it would be nice. All right, one can dream. Probably not going to happen. But okay, fine. If you're still going to do that and you have to play within those bounds, well, and you're going to set up stuff in the UDIs, at least pay it off. At least just, even if it's just one line that says, "Yeah, I had cancer. I got cured." Like, fine.
exactly.
Well,
because of the bitterness that Tegan had towards the Doctor, and to just kind of skirt over that is,
and then it skirts over that, and I mean, shit. Even Sylvester was like, I saw an interview with him, and he was like, "Oh, wait, when he was reading the script in parallel, it's like, oh wait, we fell out." I'm like, yeah, you kind of did for a bit. I mean, yeah, that was in the comics. Sorry, not in the comics, in the version New Adventures. So, like, even he was like, huh, what? So, this is what I'm saying. Be more cohesive. Have more of a through line. If you're going to marry up bits from the lore, this is clearly deep lore stuff, right? So, if you're going to do deep lore, then at least pay it off for people that might not know the deep lore by, doing what Chibnall was good at, info dumping. Oh, wait, until he wasn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. There's just things that I think they should do at least, or if you're going to put things in, then at least, lay the groundwork leading back to those particular things you're talking about, because there's zero context and it doesn't make sense, and clearly doesn't make sense to the actors, let alone the viewers. So what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least one of the things that it says, I believe this is from David Richardson, says how Tegan and Ace first met and how did they encounter River Song. It's a story told over decades and not necessarily in sequence. River has encountered many formidable things, but she is ready for the explosive properties of both Nitro 9 and Tegan Javenka. And so... I mean,
oh my god, you're gonna get a whole bunch of people shipping Tegan and Ace now. So what's it going to be?
Jeez.
Taste or
Oh,
Jesus Christ? No.
Taste. Yeah.
No.
Tegan.
Ugh. Hmm.
Oh boy.
I'm good.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, we have this. I listened to the free version of the first volume of Diary of a River Song, and I did not complete the entirety of the whole thing. Kind of like what you said. It's just okay. We have this android body. We're gonna.
Oh, what you
We're
mean?
going.
What you mean? The Death and Life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I listened to the first episode, the free version of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even get through with it because, again, I think for me personally, and I know, you are a collector. I am a collector also of things. But for me to want to invest my time, I need to be bought in and I need to, like, with movies and stuff like that, I need to be bought into this world. And I find that, the Death and Life or River Song or Diary of a River Song is they could do so many cool things with that character, and they just choose to do, the daughter one where they're on that raft where everything is gonna die in 20, what is it, like
24
23
hours.
hours or something like that.
Mm.
And it's okay, but it's just like you have, River Song, who is a strong character in just singly by herself, does not need the Doctor's help for anything. And I wish, and you did have that one box set where it was, her and the sixth Doctor, her and the seventh, her and the fifth, her and the
Actually,
fifth were the.
I tell you
Yeah.
what was good actually with River was it wasn't even that. It was her and the Ninth Doctor in that last story, or in that last box set, Star-Crossed.
Mm.
That was really good. If you've not listened to that,
I have not listened to it. No.
well worth listening to,
Okay.
because you basically get her going, "Oh yeah, I'm your wife," and you're going to come round to basically me, and he's for the entire box going, "No, I'm not into that. I don't do that." Like just in denial for the entire box set. I mean, Eccleston was like, because obviously the whole Time War thing and PTSD trauma stuff. So like you have him just basically going, "Nah, I'm not gonna be into that, do that kind of stuff. I'm not that sort of person." And him kind of by the end of it accepting it,
Mhm.
and seeing the value of her, but obviously not remembering it because of the whole. I mean, it's done. It's done in a really clever way actually as well. It isn't just a typical Doctor gets his mind wiped. I mean, they kind of both do. I think, if I recall. But the fact that they have that chance of, he kind of realizes and kind of accepts and comes to appreciate her and stuff, is a nice touch. So, but yeah, I think what I would have preferred to see River do, I mean, is I don't know, kind of go up against more, I think, Doctor Who monsters.
Mm.
But then that's the thing. I mean, that's good in theory, but then what does every other spin-off do? Like you want to see, Jagon Lightfoot or the Paternoster Gang go up against, said monsters, and so like I suppose you can't have every single companion go up against, the sort of typical monsters of the Doctor Who universe. So I suppose they have to do something new. So I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword, and
Well,
catch
and
22 almost.
I think what they need to do, in all honesty, and they did do it at times, but what they need to do is give River like the Sarah Jane ultimate monster from the Sarah Jane series. I really would like them to really focus and strong on a ultimate foe. Sarah Jane had, what is it? I can't think of
Trickster.
Yeah. Sarah Jane had the Trickster, an ultimate foe.
See,
yeah.
that again. Obviously, he's been name dropped in the latest Doctor Who TV season, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, again, if you're gonna do myth and all this, right, which is cool, and if you're gonna pull from the pantheon of the elder gods and stuff, okay, all four, go for it. Well, there's your ultimate foe. There's your ultimate villain, right? Because the Trickster is so powerful. Like, that would be the perfect villain to go up against the Doctor.
Yes.
Like, completely. Because the Doctor, at this point, let's face it, is really powerful. You know, the power creep has been going on for a while now. What do you mean, fine? But, like, you're going to have to go bigger and bigger. Or you do what they do with Marvel and strip back. So the Doctor's either going to have to get to a certain point and then kind of lose something. Which I think is kind of hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have to keep going bigger and bigger and bigger, or say something like the Trickster as much of an annoyance as say the Daleks.
Yeah.
So
and that's what, with the most recent unit box set, that's what they did. They had, what was the villain that they were fighting? You listened to it.
No, well, Nemesis, what was it called?
Yeah. Wasn't there an overarching villain in all four of them?
Yeah, there was, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the villain was called now.
But why don't they do that for River? Why don't they give her an overarching villain that, is sometimes there, sometimes in the background? But, and I can see the other reason why they wouldn't do it also is because they were able to do it in unit, and they did it for 4 box sets, and then they capped it off. I guess maybe their fear is, well, when do we bring it back?
What was it called? I'm curious.
Oh boy. Yeah. Anyway, interesting thing about the death and life of River Song. According to the reviewers on the timescales, the average rating for all 4 stories is about a 7. So, and you go to the Big Finish website, and they use the quotes from Sci-Fi Pulse, Geek Vibe Nation, and Who Review, saying,
by the way,
this
I've never heard of Geek Vibe Nation.
I know.
Where the hell did they come from?
I don't know, but you know what? They say nice things about Big Finish, so they get shout out. When we say nice things about Big Finish, actually, no. I think my YouTube or my podcast criticizing Nick Briggs' reading the statement got used in the Nick Briggs and whatever.
I mean, I was surprised that he read out my email. I mean, Jesus, I wasn't exactly like complimentary, was I? My absolute favorite was, and you know what? I'm sorry. It had nothing to do with your email. Sorry. It wasn't because it was you that I loved that email. He read something, and I know he had no idea what you were referencing, but I did, and I got the biggest kick out of it. Oh, I absolutely loved that you trashed the Big Finish listeners group, and he read that on the podcast. Yep. Oh dear.
So
I'm still trying to find this bloody enemy. Where are we at? Unit.
I want to say they start with the letter V.
Yeah,
but
they
I'm
do.
not 100% sure.
Veltras or
Volprene.
Volprene. That's it. The Volprene.
There we go.
There we go.
Volprene. All right.
Yeah. So, like, why couldn't we have something like that? I mean, I don't know. I think it would work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
All right. So, yeah, we got that news. I'm kind of interested. I'm not going to go out and pre-order it though, but maybe I'll listen for some nice gentleman in England to give me a review and thumbs up, thumbs down, and I'll go from that point. But yeah.
Oh, you should, by the way, check out the latest Benny stuff. The Eternity Club. That was quite good. I can recommend.
Oh, that was pretty good. Okay.
Yeah, and interestingly, they've said that there is going to be more, which is good.
Well, I'm really interested in why. When are we going to get the? Oh wait, we're probably going to get the 12 Days of Big Finish mist coming up real soon. Have you noticed though? All of the flash sales that they've had on Big Finish, they've had currently, as of day of recording, they have the robots sale. They've done Jago and Lightfoot. They've done the countermeasures. Like, props to them for doing some of these flash sales for Big Finish stuff.
that was it. And I also listened to the latest. That's it. Speaking of Jago and Lightfoot, I also listened to the latest Paternoster Gang. That was really good. And interestingly, we have the Doctor. Is obviously Michael is the second Doctor. Interestingly, you'll have to listen to that because it does tie into his overarching thing with the season 6B stuff. I mean, it does and it doesn't. Like it's from that era. Like it's that Doctor. Interestingly, it's just him on his own.
Okay,
which is interesting, and yeah, so that was quite good. So
excellent. So I guess with that, what we'll do now is we have some news surrounding a brand new release for on DVD/Bluray, newly animated The Savages. So, according to DoctorWhoNews.net, it says the first Doctor story, The Savages, has been animated and will be released next year. The 4-part series was first broadcast between May and June 1966, will return as an animated series to be released on DVD, Blu-ray, and limited edition Blu-ray Steelbook next spring. With the original master recording lost, as many of these television episodes were historically wiped after transmission, the BBC Studios entertainment teams worked with original audio and soundtracks of all 4 episodes and the team of ambition to bring back the long-term story arc. It says in this early story, William Hartnell, traveling companion with Stephen, Peter Purvis, and Dodo, Jackie Lane, arrive in an unnamed planet where they encounter 2 distinct people, the Elders and the Savages. Anyway, it goes into that. I was taking a look at some of the images that they shared on DoctorWhoNews.net, and I will tell you, it's around the quality, I would say, of the updated Power of the I almost said Power of the Doctor, Power of the Daleks, and also a little bit of the Macroterra, which, you know what? I'm glad that we're. I have to come clean, Telium. The other day, on Black Friday, I picked up Doctor Who and the Celestial Toymaker on Blu-ray.
Yeah, you said before.
I know,
have you,
but
have you watched it yet?
No, because.
Oh my god! What did you think to that link I sent you with that weird like puppet Christian show?
That was weird.
Like, what was that about? I'm like, oh my god, that was educational for kids in your country.
Exactly. But All I'll say is I'm glad that the Celestial Toy Maker, because I will say I've gotten I put some of my criticisms on the face or the YouTube account for the Celestial Toy Maker, and I got a brand new one just the other day where because I was just like, I hate this animation. I wish I could buy this story, but I can't because I don't want this animation style in my life. And somebody commented, I had got a couple of agreements like, yeah, I totally agree, but I'm a completionist. And I would totally disagree. And then somebody said no one with a brain ever. I'm like, hey, just, you know what? You can disagree with me, but come on.
Oh my god! Did you see some of the remarks about the speaking of savage responses, right? And I think I commented on it on the Big Finish audio group, and it was about the 13th Doctor stuff, and
oh yes,
just some of the responses about I'm not buying this. She's a fraud doctor, and it's like, whoa, like Jesus! And I was like, come on. I'm like, I mean, even I commented and said, well, I said something along the lines of, look, fandom being divided again, like, surprise, surprise, it's a fandom that keeps on giving. I'm like, it's common sense. If you don't want to listen to it, you don't have to. If you don't want to buy it, then don't buy it. Like, no one's forcing you to buy this stuff.
Yeah, I did not. I saw some of it, but here, you know what? I am about two minds in this, and I'm going to do a future podcast talking about fan toxicity and also the exact opposite, the toxicity of positivity.
Because I also said in my comment, I was like, look, if they can redeem her like they did to Colin Baker, right? Then fine, go for it. I'm all for it. If you can redeem her, if they can do a good job with her, fine. And then I have no issue.
But here's the thing, and I'm actually all for the criticism. I actually am, because again, you can take it as negativity. You can be like, that's toxic, that there's no place on the internet or that for that. But then when you couple that with fan toxic positivity, like where everything is great, like I'm making a special 10-year Doctor Who Alhambra podcast best of, and it's going to be coming out in 2 or 3 different parts because there're going to be tons of not full-length episode, but longer clips and stuff like that, just because I want to celebrate the highs and lows of our, decade-long podcast. But we were talking about, negativity and how there's no place for it way back then. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. But then we criticize the Big Finish listeners group because they don't allow a descending voice. And I think
that's again, I think there's room for criticism, right? But if you're just going to come out and just go, fraud doctor, or she's not, like, or or she's meh, and like don't even give a reason, just basically just shit on her, right? And again, yeah, not saying I haven't. I've shat on Jodie Whittaker, but like not because of her as an actor, but that was down to the writing and down to the direction.
The writing, the directing, and you can also question the acting at time, I believe.
Sure. But again, that's down to, I'd say more of the direction. Like the actor can only do with what they've got, I suppose, in that sense.
But you know what? I have no problem with people dumping on it, because you know what? If you don't dump on something, the toxic positivity is going to be the only voice in the room, and then it's you grumbling about the flux the entire time, going, when is this going to end? But you know what? The reason why it doesn't end is because all the people that are dissenting voices, which is anybody who doesn't agree, gets blocked or ignored because all the voices that you're listening to are the positive ones. And
Sure.
I have no problem with the toxicity. If you can support it, if you're
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Most of these
here's
people
the
that
thing.
aren't supporting it, though, they're just going, "Oh, it's shit." Which I mean,
Well,
you're fine, but like,
but-
or like, "Oh, she's not my doctor," or she's a fraud. No,
Well,
she was chosen
as
for the
long
role.
you know
Like,
what? As long as they have done the work and have watched the episodes, they can have that opinion. They don't have to justify by giving a whole bio of, well, I was, if I were to, give my whole bio, well, you really like the woman who fell to earth. The next episode was a little bit less. The next episode a little bit less. And by the time we got to Ghost Monument and then Arachnids in the UK, I was kind of near done with the series, even though, well, not done with the series, but I was like, grasping at straws to enjoy the show that I liked. And then, you double that with series 12, where you have Spyfall, which is great. Oh, look, it's what's his face from QI. Oh, and he's dead. Well, I mean, they got him in just so that they could do the, say that Stephen Fry is in the episode and he's barely in the episode. And then you get, again, the most divisive episode of all time, which is a fugitive of the Dune, followed like really close behind that, which is the Timeless Child. And you don't have to give your bio of why you don't find her legitimate, but it's not up to them to give that to you. It's them to have done the legwork. And if they didn't do the legwork, that is them just being lazy.
Sure. I mean, that's fair. But I mean, like, and as people, said on the group, "Oh, I've got no intention of buying this." Well, why comment if you've got no intention of buying it?
That's important, though. That's important. I fully, again, back saying I'm not going to buy this. Big Finish needs feedback to figure out, if you go back and listen to the extended extras with, it was a Colin Baker one. It was one of the, what are those bug creatures called? My brain just, it's not working. Ark in Space.
Wirren.
Yeah, Wirren. Was it Wirren Dawn? I believe
that
was
Wirren
Isle.
No,
Wirren Isle.
No, the Fourth Wall, wasn't it? Because that was
no. I'm talking about the Wirren.
Yeah,
yeah.
The episode with Flip, right?
Yeah,
that was the Fourth Wall.
No.
Wirren.
Yeah, Fourth Wall was the fourth one. I'm talking about the Wirren Isle. That's all I'm talking about right now.
Oh, okay, my bad. I thought it was
okay. So in the extended extras of Wirren Isle, they are talking about, Nick Briggs brings up the whole, wow, we've got a massive boost in one of the pre-orders for one of the monthly ranges. Which one is it? And they were trying to figure out what caused this massive bump in monthly main range pre-orders. And when they looked and did, figure out where it came from Wirren Isle. People were so excited to have the Wirren back that it jumped their pre-order sales massively just for the title, just for the cover art of the Wirren to return. Now, granted, you can have people saying on Facebook, I can't wait for that. But you know what? When you're in a Big Finish listeners group where you can't say anything descending, where is the alternate perspective, point of view? Well, it's not there because it's toxic positivity. So they're like, blindsided by this sales that came out of nowhere. But you know what? If you have people on a group devoted to Big Finish, and you are saying, I'm out on this, that gives them feedback, regardless of whether you like it or the admin likes it. That gives them feedback as to what they need to do to keep their consumer base happy. I mean, granted, there's a gentleman in England who will literally buy everything, but that's not how everybody else rolls.
Sure. And I mean, I get that, right? But like if there's and obviously there's people that's just going, oh well, the X person's a fraud or whatever, or
Well, that's on them.
I mean, yeah, it is on them, right? But like, I wouldn't call that. I wouldn't call that critical feedback. Like, it's sure, it's
But
it's feedback, right? But is it like actually? It's not. What's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, it's.
I don't know.
What's the word?
Anyway, I have no problem with it. It's on them, and Big Finish needs to be able to do with that information as they so choose. And if you are on a fan page, I have said this multiple times when they announced the Call Me Master and the Fugitive Doctor. I am out for listen to that for at least 5 years. It has nothing to do with Sacha Dhawan. It has nothing to do with Joe Martin. It has everything to do with how the 13th Doctor era was in general, what Chris Chibnall did. You do bring up a good point. We've talked about it many times on the podcast. You know what? Big Finish have been able to, take a piece of crap and turn it into, something fantastic.
Or at least workable. I mean...
Exactly.
And that's the thing. I mean, but this is the thing. Looking at those comments, right, about the whole, 13th Doctor stuff, again, it's just your typical split down the middle. And I'm sorry, but that's like, there you go. You don't even need to look, really, because that's what it's going to be. Because that's what it did. Because that's what happened to the fandom.
Well,
so like, and I mean, I wouldn't mind, but this stuff hasn't even come out yet. So like, fine, judge it when it's come out.
You say that, but again, one of the best of moments that will be on there. I was re-listening to so many of our podcasts, finding the best moments or whatnot. And we were discussing the Flux, and you were, waxing poetic about how much you absolutely loved the Flux, because that has been like the best Doctor Who incarnation since the creation of, your next favorite Doctor, which I think was the Hugh Grant Doctor but anyway, so we were going through it, and they had just barely, so we'd finished the Flux, and I went to amazon.co.uk and also amazon.com because there was the possibility of pre-ordering the the Flux series, and people were already positively reviewing the DVD Blu-ray before it even came out, and some of them were wait, just 1 second. Some of them were positively reviewing the series after one episode because it was there to be able to leave feedback.
Well, that's stupid though. Like, why would you do that? Why? Like, surely the only way, I think what they should do is, if it's a pre-order, like, you shouldn't have reviews open. It's a pre-order. I mean, come on. It doesn't make any sense. Like, that's just a fault on Amazon's or whoever's part. Like, the fact that you can leave reviews on pre-orders, like, is ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense. And you're right. Like, going back to the sort of Whittaker era. Yeah, I'm probably never ever going to rewatch Jodie Whittaker. Whittaker's era, right? However, if they can redeem her in audio, then fine. I mean, they're going to have a tough job. I'm not going to deny that. But if they can do that, and it turns out actually that it is half decent, then cool. But
Yeah.
yeah. So
Anyway, the Savages.
mhm.
I'm very excited for the Savages. I'm so grateful that the first Doctor is not the nightmare fuel that we had in the Reign of Terror. I wish that this was more animated in the style of, I can't remember what my favorite animation style was, but
I think it was
yeah.
the Macroterra, wasn't it? Why did
Macroterra,
they?
yeah.
Why did they do the update for the Power of the Daleks? Was it because it was so bad in the first place?
Yes, it sucked so bad.
Then
why
then?
Yeah.
So why then aren't they doing that for the Celestial Toymaker?
Because according to, if you read, and I have read it, is there's people on the Big Finish, or not the Big Finish, on the Doctor Who fan pages and stuff like that, are just like, you know what, the animation, because the animation back in the day, just, we're gonna jump in our time machine and we're going to think about something from the early 2000s that maybe or maybe not you are familiar with. But the Celestial Toymaker has the same animation style as Jimmy Neutron from the early 2000s. And you know what? Jimmy Neutron in the early 2000s was computer animation, basically as best as we could get it. However, we are now in the 2020s era. You can do better computer animation. And, there are some people that have just said that, hey, you know what? This is, supposed to be a childish story. So, of course, the animation is going to be kind of a little bit more childish. It's clunky. And I find it personally lazy. And like I said, I bought this. I will review this Blu-ray at one point in time. I was not going to buy the steel case for this. Like, you know what? Part of me sat there, and for 3.2, I own all the steel cases for most of the animation stuff, except for this one. And because I was looking at the price and it wasn't worth the price. And in all actuality, I was just going to get it for the documentary, the making of the animation style, which, who knows, that could be just a podcast all in itself.
I mean, that could be interesting because, obviously I've not watched the documentary, so, but we don't know, there could have been just major issues with it. Like,
yeah.
So, I don't know. But
yeah,
I mean, yeah, yeah. But it should be interesting. I hope they stick to that kind of animation. Like, it would be nice if the animation was consistent over the range. At least.
So, I found a string, or I found a post on Twitter surrounding this announcement, and I like it. It's, this gentleman says, another animation announcement means another update to the missing episode poster. So interested to see season 3 get a lot of love recently. What other stories would you like to, see next? And then within the same post, somebody put all of the Blu-ray collections of the series from season 1 to season 26. And you know what? I'm really hopeful that more animation occurs, because currently, besides the second season of the first Doctor, we don't have anything until season 8 of the third Doctor. And then we are missing season 11, the last Jon Pertwee series. And then we have season 13, which is the second Tom Baker season. and then season 16, which is the key to time. And then the last one is the final season of the Fifth Doctor, which is interesting because they don't have the twin dilemma on season 22. So they're going to have, I believe, unless I'm remembering that wrong, I believe they're going to have the twin dilemma in season 21 of the Fifth Doctor. So,
well, they are, because it was part of season 21. Because because it didn't end. It didn't end at Caves of Understanding.
Well, no, but the only reason why I bring that up is myself and Legion at one point in time were battling back and forth because he was under the belief that it was going to be featured in season 22, and I said, that doesn't count as season 22, and it was the only way around this would be to do season 21 all with the Fifth Doctor and then have a single individual Blu-ray for the twin dilemma, which I could see them do. I could see them try to squeeze a couple more pennies out of the twin dilemma.
Well, they probably would, actually. Oh, and just to set the record straight, I do have the first edition of the first season of Tom Baker's.
What?
Yeah.
What did you? How much blood did you? Have to? Sell?
Granted, I didn't. I got it for double the price, but I managed to secure a copy. So
what did you do with the the lesser second edition? Did you sell that?
I sold it to the person who's given me the first edition. So yeah.
Congratulations. So with all of these seasons missing, and now as I'm looking at the first 6 seasons of Doctor Who, I want to bounce 2 things off of you.
Do you know what I think's coming next for the animations?
Yes, I'd love to hear.
It's going to be Wheel in Space, I reckon.
Well, and that's the most interesting thing that you say that, because according to this, whoever made this poster, I love it, but I also hate it because they put they're doing the college reenactment of Mission to the Unknown and claiming that as part of the missing episodes found. No.
Hey?
Nope.
I don't. What do you mean? I don't quite follow.
So remember, a couple of years ago, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a college in England that reenacted the Mission to the Unknown.
So they're claiming that the
college reenactment counts as one of the missing episodes being filled in and completed.
It doesn't.
I know. No.
I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong, and I would love to have that on the Mission to the Unknown DVD or Blu-ray. That would be awesome if they could include that version.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, but that's not counted as
no.
And
so they're counting that, and this is an interesting thing because the Wheel in Space episode 1, they are counting as it being animated on, I think, the Macroterra, or it was Galaxy 4. One of them.
I think it was
do
Macroterra.
have, or either that, or I think it's the Macroterra. They have
because it can't be Galaxy 4 because Wheel in Space is 15 in the order, and Galaxy 4 is
Galaxy 4 is in
16.
season 3. Anyway, in one of them, I think it was. It wasn't. Yeah, it was Macro because it was
Macroterra because
it's
the same as the second Doctor, so it would make more sense to have it on there than the first Doctor.
So they animated the first 13 minutes of the Wheel in Space, and this guy on his spreadsheet is counting that as episode 1 being completely animated.
I mean, it seems a bit odd to go, you know what? I mean, again, a bit of an odd number. Oh, we'll just animate the first 13 minutes. I mean, why 13? Like,
I know.
Why not 10? Or, why do we do the extra 3 minutes? And I'm like, well, considering that the episode is 25 minutes long?
Uh-huh.
Like, why stop at 13? You might as well just go on and do the whole episode. Like, it doesn't make sense.
No.
Very odd choice there. I don't know.
So, which season did you say that you're? So you said the next one that they're going to be animating was
Is Wheel of Space.
Wheel in Space. I would like that. If they do that, then they could probably double dip everybody, doing a still case release of the Wheel in Space,
and then the collection,
and then do season 5 on collector's edition Blu-ray, because everything would have been done. I really would hope that they wouldn't do season 5, because of episode 3 of The Web of Fear is still out there. It's stolen, it's missing, and then the shoddy job that they did to animate that sucker that would just be so disheartening to know that they didn't really try to animate it. And then it's, the Web of Fear episode 3 still is there. I think, and the other thing that I find sad is season 2, even though it's mostly complete, they just have the telesnaps of the Crusades 2 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what they're going to do. The BBC is going to do
animate that, right?
They are going to do a steel book for the just one second. They're gonna do a steel book for that, and then what they're gonna do is they're going to then re-release that, and everybody is going to have double, tripled, or whatever dipped.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna be so annoying. So freaking annoying.
Well, I mean, they've done it before, they'll do it again. It's a clear and tested business model, isn't it? So I mean, hell.
No.
I mean, again, like, people are still complaining that, season 3 isn't going to come, Disney might drop out, blah, blah, blah. Which is interesting because RTD has said that season 2 is coming quick, sooner than we think, which is interesting. So, which would be cool. But Doctor Who is like the BBC's highest selling programs. So, it's not dead.
I mean,
it's not going. It's not going anywhere.
No.
So,
here's the only argument I have for that is, it's not going anywhere. But one of my arguments regarding that statement is the BBC, regardless of whether Doctor Who is on air or not, will be making money off of Doctor Who.
Exactly.
And so it's not like, we might not get a season 3, or we might get a light season 3 because Disney backs out. Does not matter. It's going to exist. Season 3 is going to happen to some extent. Now, to however long it's going to be, that's going to be an interesting question to figure out. Also, at the same time, even if we did a Wilderness Years Part 2, the BBC knows that this is one of their higher money generator series. And so obviously they are going to be the ones that are going to make sure that they have, they're going to get paid from Big Finish. They're going to do novels. In fact, I think
Audios,
they should increase. I think they should increase the audio or the novels if it's Wilderness Years Part 2. I think they should also, increase comic outputs or whatnot. They need, or just, start doing all of the figurines, because again, there is a market for that. So
well, even to be fair, I mean, they are still doing the figures and stuff. You've got the B&M sets. You also have the continued, was it Eagle Moss?
Yeah,
stuff?
The Eagle Moss stuff.
I don't think Eagle Moss is doing it. I think it's something else now. But
but I mean, like I said, if it goes away, the fandom will still survive. It's just going to be different. And in all honesty, and I'm going to say something mildly controversial.
Mildly.
I would not mind if we had a Wilderness Years Part 2, because here is the benefit of a Wilderness Years Part 2 is all of the writers in early time for Big Finish were all the novel writers during the Virgin novelization, and even when BBC got the license to start writing books during their BBC book line back in the early 2000s, those writers were the ones that gave us the Big Finish series for the first, 50 or so. Then some of those stories got picked by RTD to be able to, do something similar in the TV show, making the TV show stronger. So in actuality, I believe if Doctor Who does go away, it will actually only make it stronger in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, it can go away for a bit, and as you say, come back, because we'll still have Big Finish, because hey, we had Big Finish during Wilderness Years. That's what kept, I think, also the interest in Doctor Who as well, I think, to a large extent. And yeah, if it does go away, then we'll still have Big Finish. So, both ways, you've got Doctor Who.
So looking at all the episodes that we have in existence, I could see two things happening. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on both of these. I think these are going to be the next... there's still some of the other Doctor Who stuff that's still going to be coming out. The two Tom Bakers, the Peter Davidson, whatnot, and the one John Pertwee. So those are going to be a thing that happen. But first off, for some of these documentaries, I would really wish that I hope we have stuff with William Russell recorded for when season 1 comes out. I really hope that they get their ducks in a row for Peter Purvis and, all these other people for when season 3 comes out. I really think that needs to be a push, so that even if, they're not ready for the Blu-ray to come out, we're not doing these Toby Hadoke goes on an adventure to some guy's cottage to discuss certain things. It's still in existence, or these things were recorded because, hindsight is 2020, and what? But lifetime does expire from time to time. Here are my two proposed Blu-rays from seasons 1 through 6. Season 1, here's my theory for it coming out next in this chunk. And that is the only thing that is missing is Marco Polo. I am going to make a case that they will not animate all 7 episodes of Marco Polo. I'm going to make a case that they basically turn the 7 episodes of Marco Polo into a 90-minute animated adventure, and that is what gets put up on season 1. So that's theory. That's theory 1. That's theory 1. Listen to theory 2. Theory 2 would make Legion super happy, because the next one that they could possibly animate to complete everything would be the Space Pirates. Now, from what we've been told, this, science fiction-y stuff is easier to animate than the variety of costumes used in historical things. Meaning the Space Pirates, even though there's 5 episodes missing, they could easily animate those suckers, and then you all have the entirety of season 6 done. Additionally, selling the War Games colorized version in that set too. Those are my two theories.
I think you're half right about theory 1, right? Like with Marco Polo. I think what they're going to do is, I think they're going to animate Marco Polo. Then they're going to take that animation, colorize it, and edit that down and release a version going forward of Marco Polo to new audiences to show on TV, like they are doing with the War Games, I think. But I do think though that they will do that and include that on the DVD, on the Blu-ray of Marco Polo. So that you've got both again versions of the original, and then obviously the edited colorized version of Marco Polo, because at least with Marco Polo, if they animate it, it's going to be easier to animate a 90-minute colorized version of that rather than a 7-episode version, given all the different costumes. So I think that's what they might do, is keep it in black and white for the original, because it will be easier to animate with given all the costumes. So that might be the last thing that gets done. So I think what's that season?
That's season 1.
Season 1 might be the last one to come out, because also there again, don't forget. I also say as well, because of the controversy around an unearthly child as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think what they're doing is they're waiting for Steph Coburn to
pass on,
shuffle off, and then I think they're gonna come out with season 1 and release that, and then they're gonna release the audiobook with William Russell reading An Unearthly Child.
Well,
as well.
I mean, I think season 1 might be the second to last one released. I think season 3 will be the last one released. I mean, when you look at what is missing, okay, Galaxy 4 all animated, Mission to the Unknown asterisk. I would love for them to animate that.
Master Plan is going to be a pain to animate, because it's just so long.
But not just that. But wait, there's more. The Mythmakers, all 4 Mythmakers gone. Out of the 12 Dalek master plans, you only have 3 in existence, and like you just said, the massacre, all 4 gone. So that is, especially if we are counting Mission of the Unknown, that gives us, what would that be? That would be 9, 13, 17, 18 episodes to animate.
That's a lot to animate, right?
Compared to if they do the Wheel in Space, they're only doing 4. If they're doing the Space Pirates, they're only doing 5. I mean, even though, and then if they're doing Marco Polo, they're doing 7. But
7. So 7 versus 18. Yeah, that's a big number. So I can see actually that one actually being quite expensive.
Yes.
I think they even might bump that up to like £60, because they're retailing for like, was it like £54?
Yes.
So I reckon they might bump that up to like 60, even maybe £65 per, for the entire set, for that reason.
Yeah.
Which, if they do, fine. I mean, it might put some people off, but I can see why, and I think that's fair if because it's a lot of work to animate, right? So, and as long as the animation isn't nightmare fuel inducing as what they've used for the Celestial Toymaker, then cool.
Yes.
But you also run the risk of running into that, though.
Oh, definitely.
So, they could do a doozy and basically ruin your favorite story by animating it in. I know.
I mean, they already took a swipe at my other favorite story, The Power of the Daleks. So
I mean, come on, let's face it, that got redone, right? So
it did.
Not too bad.
No,
not too bad.
All right. So with that, let's see. Is there anything else I wanted to bring up surrounding that? I think that's about it. So with that, let's go to the most underrated story for every Doctor. Now, every so often, certain things get recommended to me by my phone on Google. And this article, which was done in May of 2020, was recommended to me. It says, each Doctor has at least one story that's desperately underrated. Here are Doctor Who's hidden gems as one of the longest running TV shows in history. Doctor Who is packed with episodes that almost every fan holds dear to them. Genesis of the Daleks, Tomb of the Cybermen, Blink, Girl in the Fireplace. But just as some Doctor Who stories have developed decade-spanning reputations, others have been mostly forgotten by history or not given their due as part of the show's development.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of older episodes, this can be because the story wasn't appreciated at the time, but has since aged like a fine wine. So with that, I'm going to go, I had ChatGPT basically generate a list. I have this list, and I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are surrounding both of these lists, because I'll tell you, there's a couple of them that I disagree that they're actually that they're underrated. And I know there's some that I know Legion is just like, oh, heck yeah, that's underrated. Sign me up for that right there, buddy. So, and then maybe you have thoughts about underrated stories. So I'll start with the First Doctor. According to Screen Rant, the Censorites is one of the most underrated First Doctor stories. Now, this is one of your favorite stories. Do you find this an underrated story?
Yeah, because you have the development of the companions. They don't feel and the relationship between the Doctor and the companions in this story is the first time that it's not the Doctor being a dick and trying to sabotage the companions for the entire fucking episode. Looking at you, Daleks. And an unearthly child. So, and also you have the one and only bit of character development for Susan. That being the whole telepathy thing. So, yeah, I would say it is underrated. Yeah, as an episode. Granted, perhaps a bit slow, in places, but I mean, that's I think enough. I think there's room to be said that a lot of Hartnell's era can be quite slow in places.
Oh yeah.
So,
no, I don't think Hartnell's era really got its stride fully until, oh man, was it Wild? One of the script editors near the very end of the one that took over after the Gunfighters, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe that's when like the First Doctor era really, hit its stride, in all honesty.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can agree that, the hard part for the Censorites is episode 1 is fantastic for the Censorites. Episodes 2 through 6 do struggle with pacing. According to ChatGPT, Edge of Destruction is one of their underrated stories. And I will tell you, I fully agree with that. I think that the Edge of Destruction, it's a 2-parter early on in Doctor Who. Unearthly Child is thought of highly. You have the Daleks,
Well, I would say highly. I mean,
episode 1.
Episode 1 is the rest. Well, yeah,
yeah,
that was a thing.
But then you have the Daleks that like overtakes everything else, and then around there you have the Edge of Destruction, and I do think that Edge of Destruction is a underrated First Doctor story.
Yeah.
I'm loving that. I don't know what's coming up. You're gonna have thoughts on this one. According to Screen Rant, the Second Doctor's most underrated story says, I'm just going to read this off. Patrick Troughton's Doctor Who tenure is stuff with classics and also debuts of famous enemies such as the Ice Warriors and the Great Intelligence. Number 2, the most underrated story for the Second Doctor is Enemy of the World.
I knew you were going to say that. No, because people seem to love it. Like, I wouldn't call it underrated. I'd say people seem to like it a lot. So how can you like it a lot and be underrated? That's
correct.
Rubbish.
Yeah.
Like,
I
if you're
agree.
going to talk about underrated stories such as the Crotons, the Dominators.
Hey, no stealing from ChatGPT. ChatGPT says that the Dominators, despite its reputation as a filler story, it features strong performances, introduces the concept of the quarks, which would become significant in later episodes. I don't know what that means, but yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I want to see those episodes.
So do I.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say Dominators, but I'd say also what's perhaps underrated as well. I would say would be the Abominable Snowman.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of Humphrey's favorite Second Doctor stories.
Purely because of the location.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it also sets up the Great Intelligence, which gives us one of the best episodes of the Second Doctor era. Slightly behind, I think, for me, actually slightly ahead of the Macroterra and Power of the Daleks, easily number 1 for me for the Second Doctor era, is the Web of Fear. Like, that is like one of the top 3 of the Second Doctor stories.
Yeah.
All right. The Third Doctor. Ooh, look at this. ChatGPT and Screen Rant agree. And you know what? So do I.
It proves it. Screen Rant, all AI. Anyway.
Anyway. Doctor Who Season 11's Invasion of the Dinosaurs is somewhat infamous for its terrible special effects, even by classic Who standards, already notorious standards. May write the episode off purely on basis of its laughable dinosaurs, but the actual plot is worthy of far more credit.
You know, I haven't watched Invasion of the Dinosaurs in such a long time, so I really can't remember the plot. But yeah, I would.
Well, it's interesting that this came up right about now, because on Twitter, the people that are associated with Richard Franklin, we are coming across up to his 1 year of death occurrence, and they were just referencing all the love that they've gotten throughout this year, all the people who love Richard Franklin, and this is the one where his Mike Yates character turns into a villain at one point in time. Well, villain in one aspect because he believes he is doing right, and villain because he's not, but he's also being used too. But yeah, I like Invasion of the Dinosaurs. I was kind of curious what Third Doctor won, because there's certain ones that are not good. Looking at you, what was that? Shoot, what was the one that came before the Planet of the Daleks? There's a 2-parter. It was the ones with the Draconians. Do not like that one.
Draconians.
Anyway. Frontier in Space is also one. It's not. Is it Frontier in Space? Anyway,
maybe. Yeah, it might be.
Yeah. Fourth Doctor. Now, this is a hard one, and I agree. As I scroll up here, I agree with ChatGPT's list more than Screen Rant's, because didn't really like this one. Maybe I need to re-watch it. But Screen Rant says Tom Baker's Doctor Who is often considered the show's golden age, as it's easy to see why. Aside from its aforementioned Dalek origin story, there's Brain of Morbius, Towns of Winchang and the Deadly Assassin, to name a few fondly remembered tales. Unfortunately, the Fourth Doctor's era does weaken as Baker lingers in the role, and
I love the fact that they say that a Deadly Assassin was fondly remembered. At the time, it was vilified.
Oh, yeah. But it says, State of Decay is arguably one of his last greatest adventures, featuring vampires who are also ancient enemies of the Time Lords.
Mhm.
This season 18 effort is classic Doctor Who with gothic edge and a hint of fascination, unexplored area of Time Lord history. The horror movie elements are subtle, but it's refreshing change of pace from the legendary mind of Terrence Dicks. Now, I know you're very fond of the vampire element. I think I am, but State of Decay is just a lot of, for me personally, Shakespearean actors doing Shakespearean acting stuff.
Underrated stories for the Fourth Doctor.
ChatGPT says The Mask of Mandragora is a underrated story.
Is it Mandragora?
Yeah.
I can't remember The Mask of Mandragora. I wouldn't have. I don't really rate Warrior's Gate.
Oh no.
Um.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Warrior's Gate is a hard one.
You know, I'm gonna go out and say underrated story. It's probably the what was it? Was there a Zygon story with Harry?
Well, the Terror of the Zygons.
Yeah.
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 Okay. All right. Let's see. What would I do for underrated story for the Fourth Doctor? That is hard because some of the ones that aren't good, and it's hard to say that they are underrated. So,
what was your opinion of Planet of Evil? Because I don't remember that one, and I don't know why.
That one's a fun one, if memory serves me right, because it's. I feel as though it's one of those you have a title, Planet of Evil, and there's some, I believe, misunderstanding. You have Sarah, Jane, and the Fourth Doctor kind of splitting up from one another and whatnot. I find it, sadly, I kind of find it mildly forgettable, but I still liked it. And the funny thing is one of the ones that I would put as underrated, but because of who wrote it, they can't classify it as underrated, and that is The Pirate Planet. Had Douglas Adams not written it, I think it would be an underrated story. But because his name carries so much weight, it is by default, I would say, probably almost overrated.
Yeah.
All right. Fifth Doctor story. I have not watched this one in over a decade. I might need to rewatch it. But according to Screen Rant, Modern Undead is the most underrated story of the Fifth Doctor. Whereas ChatGPT says Planet of Fire is the most underrated Fifth Doctor story.
Okay. Interesting.
Modern Undead introduces us to Turlough, which is good. I believe it's the beginning of the Black Guardian trilogy of stories. Which again, fantastic villain. Would love to see the Black Guardian, White Guardian reappear in the new series.
You might want to listen to the Seventh Doctor box set, Kanaki.
Oh, I will. Believe me. I haven't had time to, but I will.
Do you want spoilers or do you not want?
We'll talk about it in an upcoming podcast. Okay. But yeah.
Fifth Doctor, that's a tough one.
You know the one I was thinking of? I kind of like The Awakening.
I haven't listened to that in it. No, I tell you what was good, and it was all right, and it was. I was surprised by it. Was Black Orchid?
That I agree. That is an underrated Fifth Doctor story. Black Orchid is great, as well as the great amount of food Matthew Waterhouse is shoving into his face in the background scenes too. Yeah, no, I agree. I think Black Orchid is a underrated story. Screen Rant says the Sixth Doctor's most underrated story, and I think this is interesting because I find the Sixth Doctor in classic era so compelling. He is my favorite Doctor on audio, but the classic series, you have Vengeance on Varos, and I think you have everything else for the most part. And not saying that, they're all bad, but I feel as though with Vengeance, it is so high up there. Anything else is just slightly either average or well below average for the Sixth Doctor in the classic era. But this one, interesting what your thoughts are. Mark of the Ronnie is what they have for most underrated.
It's one I've not watched. So I can't comment on that one.
ChatGPT says that the most underrated Sixth Doctor story is Vengeance on Varos.
How is that underrated? People love that story.
I know.
What?
I would be if they said Mind Wipe, I'd be like, okay, I could get behind that. But they ChatGPT says
clearly there's still a lot to go for a long way to go for AI, right?
I know. Yeah.
Thank God.
All right. Now, the Seventh Doctor, you see eye to eye with this one probably. Maybe you even find that this is actually higher up on the not overrated, but this is a story that everybody should like. This is one that I struggle to like, and that is Battlefield.
I haven't watched it in a long time, so I can't comment.
For me, and ChatGPT actually brings up the Happiness Patrol is, and I can see that one. I can see the Happiness Patrol being a underrated Seventh Doctor story.
Yeah. I remember it being kind of a bit, quite dark. But that's about it.
Yeah. All right. So for the Ninth Doctor, I'll just start off by ChatGPT is like slowly faltering right here because they say that The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances is an underrated story. I mean, I think if you were to classify your top 10 favorite new Who of all time, I think that would probably be either on your top 10 or on the outside looking in. I don't find The Empty Child Doctor Dances as a underrated story. However, Screen Rant says The Unquiet Dead is their underrated story. I didn't like The Unquiet Dead.
It was okay.
I mean,
underrated.
At least.
Good question.
Maybe The Unquiet Dead is the most underrated story for the Ninth Doctor because you have Father's Day, right? And then you have the two-parter that I just, whatever. You also have the concluding the series finale, which is fantastic. You have Rose, which is fantastic. Like, I think maybe the Ninth Doctor for, as long as Christopher Eccleston was in the role, that is the. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about Dalek too.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is the most underrated Ninth Doctor story, just because of the amount of time he was.
Because it is the best story out of the rest. Because I mean, I mean, the long game,
Yeah.
and the Savine stuff, So yeah, probably the Unquiet Dead then.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just 1 second. I just saw who the 10th Doctor is. Okay, Craig Elvey, you're on the list.
Has he put the Christmas Invasion?
10th Doctor. Let's go to ChatGPT's 10th Doctor one first, because you know what? I agree. And I'm going to go out on a limb saying that you agree too. The most underrated, according to ChatGPT's 10th Doctor story, is Love and Monsters.
I mean, yeah, I'm still waiting for the updated trailer. I'm just saying. I think you should redo that.
I know.
You really should redo that.
I should.
Do,
Screen Rant says that the 10th Doctor story, Turn Left, is the most
underrated.
How exactly? Exactly.
People rave about it. That's not underrated. That's overrated almost.
Yeah, it's like probably one of my top 5 of Tennant's run. Probably easily top 10.
Wait, do you know what is underrated?
What?
42. Got you.
Yeah. I mean, I will tell you, 11th Doctor underrated story, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, if that is on the list.
Maybe.
But,
might be. Yeah.
But it's not, because according to Screen Rant, the Cold War is one of the most underrated 11th Doctor stories. And
Cold War? Cold War?
Yeah.
Cold War was 12th Doctor, wasn't it? That was the
11th Doctor.
Cold
Matt
War?
Smith. No. Ice Warrior.
Are you sure?
Yes.
No, that was 12th Doctor.
All right. I'm going to look it up, because Screen Rant says it is the 11th Doctor. I'm going to write Cold War Doctor Who, and I'm going to pull this up, and it is Cold War came out in 2013. It featured the 11th Doctor and Clara.
Oh, why was I thinking it was a 12th Doctor story? Okay. I thought that was a... What am I thinking of then?
Writers are main writer Mark Gatiss, but Brian Hales was cited as a writer because of the use of the whatever. I didn't know Liam Cunningham was in there. Wow, look at that. Yeah.
Well, what's the one I'm thinking of then? It's definitely the one, because there definitely was an Ice Warrior one with 12th Doctor, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's the Empress of Mars, right?
I'm getting confused. I could have sworn that submarine episode was a 12th Doctor story.
Let's see. I'm gonna go Empress of Mars, because that is season 10 episode. Is it season 10? According to this, it says season 10 episode 9, Empress of Mars, and that is Capaldi and obviously Bill, or 13th, 12th.
Okay. I could have sworn that was a 12th Doctor story. Oh well.
Nope. All right. So let's see. What does ChatGPT have to say? The Doctor's daughter is ChatGPT's underrated 11th Doctor story.
10th. That's 10th, not 11th.
I know, but ChatGPT says that the Doctor's daughter.
Well, that's wrong.
Is so.
Okay.
Screen Rant concludes. Oh, sorry. Oh, I accidentally saw what the 13th Doctor is. Going to disagree on that one. The 12th Doctor is the Monks trilogy as the most underrated. The Extremis, the Pyramid at the End of the World, and Lie of the Land. I struggled so much to like the Monk trilogy.
Yeah, it was weird. Underrated.
According to ChatGPT, the Zygon Invasion, Zygon Inversion is the 12th Doctor's most underrated story, which I think a lot of people have that on like their top 5 favorite of the 12th Doctor era.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the speech was amazing. Underrated 12th Doctor stories. God, that is a tough one, actually. I will not say Kill the Moon.
Okay, if you're not talking into your microphone.
Sorry, I went to Kill the Moon because
that
was dreadful.
Underrated. All right, and we're gonna conclude with the 13th Doctor's most underrated story, and I disagree. This one, I'm gonna go with ChatGPT. I also disagree with that one. ChatGPT says The Witchfinders.
Oh God,
is the most underrated 13th Doctor story.
Nah.
Yeah. And I disagree with Screen Rant.
What do they say?
They say Kerblam is the most underrated, and I disagree. It is, I think, minus the Weeping Angels episode in Flux, I think the best episode of all of the 13th era.
This is the problem with the 13th Doctor's era is there's nothing that's underrated because it was all so meh. Now, if you'd said what story had the most potential, then you would have been on to way more of an accurate thing. But I can't underrate it. No, I can't. There isn't one for me for the 13th Doctor one. I can't. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess with that, we shall conclude this podcast, and we'll return. Maybe the next time you hear us is we'll be reviewing the 2024 Christmas special.
That's going to be interesting.
All right. Anything you'd like to conclude with?
No. Just, I guess, look out for the Christmas special.
All right. Sounds good. And until next time, we will see you in time. You have been listening to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Doctor Who is owned and trademarked by the BBC. Doctor Who Alhambra is not affiliated with the BBC or Big Finish. No infringement is intended. Visit our website at alhambrapodcast.weebly.com or email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. Tweet us at Alhambra Podcast. That is ALHAMBRA Podcast. Thank you.